break down a few of the big matchups this week. But my question to you is, how confident are you? This is obviously moving into more of the playoff talk. How confident are you in the Vikings, Cowboys, and Chiefs in the playoffs after this scary week for all three teams? You had the Vikings leading the biggest second. I mean, that game was like, I wouldn't say the Vikings were, I mean, I didn't even think the Colts like had a sustained drive in the first half. But this is how the Vikings drives went. Blocked punts, two fourth down like the Colts stopped them on 2 4th downs, and then you also had a pick six by Kirk Cousins, which was like he threw a pick right next to the end zone. So that was the first half basically for the Vikings. And so it completely got derailed by those few drives. And so the Colts were really like not in control. Like they were in control, but like they hadn't really done that with their offense. They hadn't really, like it was just off of the Vikings miscues. So that was kind of concerning. But yes, they mounted the biggest comeback in NFL history, coming back 33-0 at a halftime, and then, or 31-0. I don't even, I can't remember. But then 33, yeah, 33-0. And then you had the Cowboys obviously losing to the Jaguars in overtime. And then the Chiefs beating the Texans in overtime, but the Texans are were like the worst team in NFL history. So how confident are you in these three teams?
So to answer your question, I'm worried if I'm selling them. I'm confident in the Chiefs. I've said this before. I've said this all season long. I even said it when the Cowboys almost lost to the Texans. Texans are a lot better than their schedule, than their team record shows. I would argue to say that the Texans are probably better than a few other teams, because they're just like this team that just doesn't want to go away. I'm not worried in the Chiefs because if you have Patrick Mahomes on your team, what he can do is incredible. I don't have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl because of the fact that I think that there's just still a lack of weapons. But yeah,
who do you have going? Do you have the Bills?
Yeah, the Bills are my favorite right now. And I probably want to throw the Bengals in there. I think the Bengals are, it's not even a sleeper anymore, but the Bengals have played really good football. That's another story for another day. But like, yeah, the Bengals are a good team. I could see very much a path for it to be the Bengals versus the Bills in the playoffs. And I'm going to say if it's in Buffalo, I'm probably going Buffalo because it more than likely will be in Buffalo. But yeah, those are the two guys that I've representing the AFC. But basically, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm not worried because you still got the win. I didn't watch a lot of that game, so I don't really know the whole ins and outs. But I'm not worried if I'm the Chiefs because I've seen a pretty consistent play from them. If I'm the Vikings, I'm extremely worried. The number one thing is this: good teams would never have let you come back from 33-0. It is
embarrassing.
It is a feat of excellence what they did. They're a phenomenal team for doing that. It is really, really special. But because I don't want to take away from that because it is incredible. But you don't go down 33 points against pretty much anyone else and let that and that happens. Someone had made a joke. They said it's clear Matt Ryan knows how to blow big leads. I have to laugh. I don't even know if it's really all
that guy just needs to retire.
Well, at this point, I think really if you're Kirk Cousins and you're the Vikings, you're worried. He's not played good in prime time. You know eventually the Vikings are going to have to play a prime 10 playoff game. There's a real chance that prime 10 playoff game is going to come in Philly. And if I'm the Vikings, I don't like that. They have a very good team. I think their one weakness is probably O-line, but they've got a good running back. They've got a good tight end now. They've got a great receiver. Their defense is probably actually sort of their handicap. They've got some good stars on defense in Harrison Smith and
their defense is absolutely their handicap.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Patrick Peterson was like all hyped up like after he made that game saving like Bills touchdown. I mean, interception early in the year. But I'm sorry, that guy is a lot like what Richard Sherman was in 2019. He was really a product of how good his like offense and how creative the scheme was and whatever. And then when you come to the playoffs, he gets shredded because he's slow and old. Like.
And I hate to say this, but I'm as much. I know we got back to this earlier on in the conversation, but I'm saying right now, if the Vikings play the play the Lions, I would not be just giving the Vikings that win. I mean, it's going to be a tough game. So, yeah, I'm worried when it comes to the Vikings. I'm really worried when it comes to the Cowboys. And the reason why is because coaching is the number one thing. The Cowboys' play calling is going to be a detriment. And I'll say this, if you don't mind, I'm going to go on this like 2-minute tangent. So I'm going to put you guys in the hearts of the Cowboys fans. 1:22 left to go in the fourth quarter. They're up by 3 points. They have the ball. 3rd and 10 on somewhere before their 40-yard line. It was good enough to where a punt would have netted you probably 30-yard line or fewer, maybe even 20, sub 20. But this is really where it is. And I've had a few people argue with me on this, but I solely blame this on Mike McCarthy. Now, Dak had a really, really bad interception. The second interception, I don't want to hear anyone say it. I will stand with Dak on this. That bounced out of his receiver's hands. It was actually a good throw. It was a freak play made by the safety. But the first interception was bad. But what I will say is, aside from all of that, coaching is going to be an issue. I don't care what any Cowboys fan. It's night and day better than Jason Garrett, but it's still Mike McCarthy. 1:22, 3rd and 10. You're up by 3 points. They didn't need to win the game, but with that throw, they were up. They didn't need a field goal. The Jaguars are down to 1 timeout. 3rd and 10. Run the ball. Run the ball either forces the Jaguars to not call a timeout. It takes the clock all the way down to 40 seconds, or you force the Jaguars with a timeout. If you force that timeout, you would pump back. That game would never have been gone into overtime. The Jaguars needed that timeout to throw the middle of the field pass to Zay Jones. It was a beautiful pass, but if they had not called the timeout, they would never have. If they had run the ball, they would have forced the timeout by the Jaguars. That kick would never have been made because it would never have even been attempted. And I argue this because I'm passionate about it. That was the worst play call of all time when it comes to a regular season game. In the fourth quarter, you've got the ball. You're up by 3 points. I think we lost Benjamin. You're up by 3 points, and Benjamin, are you there? Yeah, we lost him. But you're up by 3 points. It's a terrible, terrible thing. If you look at it from everything that I'm seeing, one of the biggest things is someone said, "What's up, Lawrence?" on here. I don't know who that is, but
my Wi-Fi is so okay. So let me quickly tell you the story real quick to get you back onto it. Before we get back onto the topic, let me quickly tell you the story with my Wi-Fi. There's basically 2 types of like Wi-Fis, and one of them is the really shitty one, which is CenturyLink, whatever, 5G. And then the other one is the CenturyLink 8203, and that one's really good. But the 5G one, for some reason, my computer, every time I turn it on, the Wi-Fi always connects to the worst one. And I'm like, please stop. I beg you. Anyways, go ahead with your platform 2. Yeah, real quick. Platform 246. Go check his channel. Really cool. Did a show with him the other day. So, anyways, go ahead with your
So Cowboys. The biggest thing is this. If you're Mike McCarthy, you've got the ball, you're up by 3 points, you put the hand in front of you. I'm so confident in their running backs that there's a chance that they would have run for the first down on 3rd and 10, but they don't. They don't force that timeout. And I could just see it now. Trevor Lawrence is like, look, I'm the guy. I am your guy, Jacksonville. 1:22, 1 timeout left. Give me the ability. I'm going to go down and I'm going to kick that field goal. And that's what you play for as a quarterback. They set Dak up to fail. Dak didn't have a great game, but the truth is, I don't think it's really Dak's fault. That's the worst play calling. Terrible play calling. So that's my little spiel. I had to get that off my chest because Mike McCarthy should – I told someone – I was so harsh just to say he shouldn't coach another game again. Like, if you're the coach, you put the ball in your defensive hands. I don't care if you're down to your third-string cornerback. They still have Trayvon Diggs. You put the ball in your defensive hands. You say, look, you guys have got 1:22 left to go. Let's just say 1:16 left to go. You got 1:16 left to go, and they've got to drain the clock out. They've got to run that clock. They've got to make sure they can't run any. Everything's got to be passes, so we know none of it's going to be running with 1:16 because you can't afford to have to keep lining up your O-line. All of that would be passes. I would say, guys, And you know what? What's the hurt? They kicked the field goal anyways. It'd be one thing if they missed the field goal. They kicked the field goal anyways. They went into overtime.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
You got to move the ball.
Like what you're voicing is what a lot of people were saying too. That from what happened. I mean, I think the way the Jaguars and quickly, like the way the Jaguars, I think, beat the Cowboys was they like were throwing a lot of quick passes, a lot of screens, not allowing Micah Parsons to like get there
over the game.
Because they knew they had a deficiency on their offensive line. And this is the Cowboys' downfall, stopping the run. And they showed it that they cannot do it very well against Travis Etienne. And that is where I don't think the Cowboys are going to be a very good team in the playoffs. And Dak Prescott, I mean, he's still a good quarterback, but I just don't think he is the same quarterback he was. I mean, his mobility is definitely limited. You can see it. So it's a lot worse than it was. So,
that's sort of like that's my 2 cents. I'm worried if I'm the Cowboys because I think the play calling is going to become an issue for whatever reason. I mean, if you look at the Cowboys roster, the fact that they're not like a 2-loss team is a miracle. I mean, this team is so good, and you cannot blame it. You can't blame it on Cooper Rush because he went 4-2 as a starter. He went 4-2 as a starter, and that first game was really Dak's fault. Dak played terrible, so he really only lost one game as a starter. And in fact, no, I think he went 4-1 as a starter because Dak technically started that first game.
Yeah,
but no, this is a Cowboys team that has lost more games under Dak Prescott. They beat the Bengals. I get it. The Bengals were in a slump. The Cowboys schedule, like I can't give Dak Prescott. I said to someone, I was joking. It was sort of a joke, but I'm like, Cooper Rush is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. I don't think so from a talent wise. The truth is, I didn't see a whole lot difference.
I should have you and Michael Davis on the show together. You'd probably
I think that's dangerous.
Halfway.
No, I mean we've had some cordial conversations, but I think one of the biggest things. Well, I think one of the big. Think one of the biggest things is, in my opinion, Michael and I can have very civil conversations, but it really comes down to the fact that, I don't think he shared the same